Welcome to Gulfstream today, and welcome to Gulfstream Park. And we've made it. It's closing day of the summer meeting here at beautiful Gulfstream Park. And before we get into everything, I want to let everybody know we had some rain last night. It's pretty nice out here right now. But the main track is going to start Monday. The turf course is listed as good. And please note, only race number 1 has been taken off the turf this afternoon, so everything else is on during the Rainbow Six and the Pick 5, the late Pick 5, and we got some mandatory payouts.
Yes, and as you mentioned, Rainbow Six, late Pick 5, a super high 5, everything must go. It's the last day of the meet, mandatory payouts. We have a really nice carryover coming in with the Rainbow Six, more than $116,000, I believe it is. So very exciting day. Florida Sire Stakes, lots of fun action going on
Yeah,
today.
I mean, they're going to hammer that Rainbow Six. My guess yesterday afternoon when we were closing up on Friday was it's going to be well over $500,000. But in addition to that, we have a carryover starting right in race number 1 today of the Super High 5 of about $1,900. And so that starts right off. We also got a couple of Pick 5s. Then one starts in race 1, in case you will have a ticket in that race.
Yes, I will. That's just a 50-cent wager in the early Pick 5. We also have the middle Pick 4 today. 3 Pick 4s early and late as usual. And then with 13 races on the card, we'll have the middle Pick 4 starting in race 6.
Yeah, and the Rainbow Six starts in race number 8. You saw that, $116,000 plus. I'm guessing way over $500,000 because no matter how many winners, whoever has the most takes it home today. There's no tomorrow as far as the Rainbow Six until we get over to Gulfstream Park West. And of course, we close the afternoon out with our final Pick 5 of the afternoon. And once again, mandatory payout, no matter how many winners there are, whoever has the most will take it down. Of course, you share it if you have a couple of guys, but if you got that one ticket, you take down that whole leg Pick 5. So lots of fun this afternoon. As we mentioned, race number 1 taken off the turf, but if you look at the board, a full board already up there. I had gotten the number 14 horse scratched in race number 1, but it's on the board now. We'll have to check into that. Pete Aiello will be out here a little while and update you on all the scratches and stuff like that in race number 1. So going from the turf, it is now going to be running a mile on the main track. And please note, a mile on the main track here is around 1 turn. The turf is 2 turns.
Yes, so that changes things up a little bit. Excuse me. We'll show you my early Pick 5 before we dive into this first race. I used 3 horses in this opener. Actually changed things a little bit around because we do have the number 13 Absolute Pinnacle running in here. Also used the 11 Daddy Duke and the 7 Caspi's Kid. 2 in race number 2. That's going to be the rematch of Ballet Diva and our Kinsley Doll. I used both of them in there. 2, 3, and 3 for $54 in the early Pick 5.
Yeah, and I mean, you look like you have the logical horses. I mean, the only unknown is how a couple of these horses here in the first race are going to run on the main track. But these horses are young horses. We'll see how they run 3 and up, and, they can definitely do it. That's why most of them stayed into the race. I did go with the number 13. I changed my selections because I'll tell you why. This one now in the Fernando Abreu barn. The gelding stretches out to a mile today after finishing second, but he finished second in front of a trio of next out winners. So it was a fruitful $10,000 maiden race going 7 furlongs. And I just thought off that performance, I would put this one on top of the ticket. But I think these horses can run well in here, especially this one. The problem, of course, is that outside post.
The outside post, and has taken a lot of money. He was the favorite in his last 4 starts. It was 2 seconds in the last 2. Those were both on the dirt. 2 turf races prior to that. A good second last time out, as you mentioned, ahead of 3 next out winners, yes. And you have the barn change in here. He's been working nicely as well. There's a lot to like about this horse. I opted for the number 11 Daddy Duke on top as well. Had a couple of dirt starts prior to those very strong turf starts that he's been running at lately. Was going to be stretching out in distance on the turf, back over to the dirt where he's run pretty well. Actually, if you look back at the end of July, 6 furlongs on the main track from an outside post, from post 11 that day, beaten just by 3/4 of a length behind a next out repeat winner named Equilibrium. I think that this horse has some pretty good dirt form in here and might be the one to just kind of have the upper hand.
Well, number 7, Caspi's Kid, listed as a gelding, is stretching out to a mile on the dirt after he closed to finish second against Similar. That was going 7 1/2 furlongs on the turf. He a sophomore. What I think about this horse, he's going to sit a trip behind the speed. So now he's got to prove it. He can do it on this main track that's starting today, listed at money. But I thought he had a big shot in there.
I think so too, and that actually should be the 7 instead of the 6 for me on there. I like this horse as the fresh gelding, as you mentioned, second off the layoff. He's going to be on the main track for the first time, but I still think he has the chance to run well.
Well, let's go to race number 2 this afternoon. First of 8 stakes on the card. You just don't get to say that very often. 1 mile, 3-year-old fillies, Florida Sire Stakes nominated, $150,000. It's the Florida Sire Metastar. As I mentioned, $150,000. And you mentioned our Kinsley Dahl and Ballet Diva. This is the rematch. Let's go back and show you that stretch run of these two battling it out to the wire that day. And there you see him turning for home. The number 7 that day is our Kinsley Dahl, the 2 Ballet Diva. And Ballet Diva now on the lead, and here comes our Kinsley Dahl. And you say, well, maybe not. And if you look now, look at that track. It was listed as wet fast. They're going to have some moisture in the track this afternoon, so both of these should be able to handle it. And here's Ballet Diva just getting nipped under the shadow of the wire. So now they're both stretching out to a mile. It's an unknown quantity. A lot of that today. A lot of these horses are trying a mile on the main track for the first time in their careers.
That's going to be the big theme today, is that stretch out and the question mark. Our Kinsley Dahl, the 5, who we both had on top, really does have that kind of stalking edge from coming from behind. It's no secret Ballet Diva likes to be on the front end. If she's able to maintain that kind of speed throughout the little bit of added distance in here, that'll be the question for her. Our Kinsley Dahl coming fresh off 2 very nice victories.
Yeah, and ridden today by Tyler Gaffleone, and as you know, Tyler Gaffleone is going to be our leading rider at the summer meeting, and one of the reasons he just knows how to judge that pace. He got up, as I mentioned, under the shadow of the wire. Ballet Diva renews that rivalry today, surrendered that lately. She'll reverse that outcome on a mile. That's what we have to say.
Yeah, and as I said, I think in multi-race wagering, got to use both of them.
Yeah, number 3, she's incredible. Like every participant, as we've been saying, if he'll try a mile on the dirt for the first time, close strongly to finish third behind those 2. That was the horse that was third in there. But look back at this horse. He's run well in a mile on the grass, albeit that's around 2 turns. So there is reason this horse will not be affected by a 1-turn mile.
Well, I agree. I think the distance will be no problem. Of course, the question with She's Incredible is that she's still a maiden after 11 starts coming in here.
Well, let's go to race number 3 this afternoon. The turf races continue. 1 mile on a good turf course, 2-year-olds, $75,000. This is the Armed Forces. We have 8 runners in the field with no scratches, and you and I are in agreement with the number 1, Sweet on the ladies.
Well, this one is 2 for 2. Has some speed, especially coming from the rail today. Now trying the turf for the first time in here. And I just think that this horse is coming in such good form. Has been working really nicely as well. Last work on September 24 was 3 furlongs in 35 and 2. As I said, 2 for 2.
Yeah, he's 2 for 2, and he's a son of Twirling Candy, and I just think he's the logical choice in there. The horse that we both used in second here is Sonic Mule, the number 4, making its career turf debut after stalking the pace and finishing third. That was in the $100,000 sapling. That was on the Monmouth main track. The trainer is Todd Pletcher. Edgar Zayas handling the surface switch this afternoon.
And they've had enough of this horse to run him in the Grade 2 Saratoga Special this summer, and finished a well-beaten 4th that day, bumped up to 3rd through disqualification. Didn't really do too much running there, but did run a mile on the main track, so it does have a little bit of that distance edge.
Well, number 3, I got Unbridled Holiday, is a $420,000 son of Harlan's Holiday, who was second on the turf at the distance 2 starts back, going back to the grass after finishing second, going a mile on the main track. It's Patrick Biancone. We mentioned this a lot. This barn has been going really good. This is a maiden now, Lane Luzzy. They teamed up for a stakes win last week, and see if they can do it again. This one a maiden, but I like the breeding on this horse.
Yeah, I opted for the number 5, Inspired. I was actually in between the 2 of them. You might get a good price on Unbridled Holiday, or maybe just behind the purchase price of that horse. Maybe you won't. But I went with Inspired, who was 3rd as the odds-on favorite last time, yes, but trying the turf for the first time here. Does have a winning turf sibling. This one, a 2-year-old by Proud Citizen. Broke his maiden very impressively. And then to the outside, Gemologister, who has a graded stakes experience as well.
We're going to flip the page and go to race number 4 this afternoon. 6 furlongs, maiden special weight, 2-year-olds. We do have a couple of scratches to report in here of the number 1 Ground Chief and the number 7 One Proud Wildcat. And I went with the number 5 in here, and that's Arpanella. And I'll tell you why. This one is a $130,000 son of More Than Ready, debuting for trainer Jose Garofalo with a sharp morning work tab showing across down at Gulfstream Park West. Gets Lasix, gets leading jock Tyler Gaffleone, and that's why I went that way. We got our exacta flip-flop.
Yeah, and I'll give you a sire stat on more than ready for this horse. Pretty strong there. This is in the past 5 years for 2-year-olds on the dirt, 44 for 302, a pretty strong 15% there. My biggest thing is that Jose Garofalo, not known for first-time starters. The barn doesn't really do that strong of numbers with the firsters, but certainly with a sire, the 2-year-olds on the dirt, definitely one to like. The dam won at 2 as well. I had him on there for all of those reasons. I opted for the number 8 Fact Check on top, a $180,000 son of Yes It's True from the Todd Pletcher barn. Edgar Zayas aboard.
Yeah, he was training up at the Spar, so coming down, I mean, Pletcher horses have been in South Florida at Palm Beach Downs for a little while, but I want to see one over the track. I mean, you got to be on the ticket, just for all the reasons you mentioned. Edgar Zayas in the saddle this afternoon. I went with the 6 and 3rd Lionheart Legend. This one is stretching out the 6 furlongs and wearing blinkers after posting his second consecutive second-place finish, going 5.5 last time out. His previous experience, I think, might be key in here. He's got experience. He's run well in both starts. I think that maybe here's a horse that you want to put somewhere in your ticket. I don't know what he's on, 5-1, I believe, on the morning line or something like that.
You know, I normally do like horses with a little bit of experience, but I went with the number 4 Arrecife from the barn of Antonio Sano, who's been working very strongly at Gulfstream Park West. I think that's from the Sano barn. Has had some very nice firsters actually coming out of there, and some 2-year-olds as well. So we'll see how that one can do in here.
Yeah, and I guess the theme of that race is a wide open affair because you know, there's certain horses, you know, a couple of first-time starters could run exceptionally well. Well, let's get back to the stakes action with race number 5. 1 mile on the turf, 3-year-olds and up. It's the $75,000, the Mr. Steele, and right now we have no scratches or jockey changes to report. And once again, Pete will be back in a little while and update you on all that stuff. And we differ here. We were alike a lot today, but I went with the 2 Diamond Bachelor. You went with the number 6 Air Bueno, one of my favorite horses. But talk about Air Bueno, and then I'll tell you why I went with Diamond Bachelor.
All right, well, I can certainly understand Diamond Bachelor off of that most recent performance, but I think Air Bueno is one that's really eligible to bounce back. Finished 3rd behind Diamond Bachelor and Enterprising last time out, but only beaten 2 lengths. It was pretty tight. It was 1 1/16 on the turf. Cutting back a little bit now to that mile distance. Had 2 wins in a row prior to that, a second and then 2 more wins. This horse is just coming in such excellent form. Chuck Simon has done a great job with him. He won the Miesque's approval, going that 1 1/16, won at the 7.5 furlongs in between there. I just think he's got that good form. It took a while for Diamond Bachelor to get into that winner's circle.
What I liked about Diamond Bachelor was saying, I can't find anybody that's going to run with him early, and that was my consideration here. You know, and he's turning back to the mile. He led every step of the way to win the $75,000 mile in the 16th David Stakes. I mentioned the connections hooked up. That was Lane Leslie's first career ever stakes victory. And this is strictly a pace play for me. That's why I went with Air Bueno for all the reasons you mentioned, one of my favorite horses here. You know, even though Chuck Simon doesn't like me to put his horses on top, Diamond Bachelor is just that pace that I think is going to do it there. Now, we both used the 8 Enterprising, who might close and get both of these horses.
Yeah, he's coming off 2 second-place finishes, was beaten just 1.5 lengths to be second last time, as I mentioned, behind Diamond Bachelor and ahead of Air Bueno. He was 5 wide, and he was gaining very strongly in the stretch there, going that 1 1/16. He had a good second prior to that as well. Gets Cornel Velasquez in the saddle.
You know, and here's the thing. I'm seeing Diamond Bachelor as the lone speed, but if someone goes up and challenges him, you know, it's hard. Every time I think there's lone speed, someone goes up and looks that speed right in the eye.
Well, that's my thing. I think the number 5, Coping Away, might actually be one to show some more early interest.
Yeah, and that might set it up for a horse like Enterprising. Certainly Air Bueno. So a really nice 5th race this afternoon. The 6th race is another stake race. It's 1 mile, 3-year-old Colts and Geldings. The Florida Sire Stakes nominated. This is the Foolish Pleasure, $150,000. And this is where that middle pick 4 starts in race number 6 this afternoon. And we got a horse here that we have a lot of fun with, and that's Awesome Banner. So
yeah, this is one of our favorites, and he was Awesome Banner was pretty awesome last time. We'll go back and show you that race. This was in the Florida Sire prized stakes last time out. He's the number 8 there. came off the pace. He rated more than he usually does. Normally shows some early speed. This was back on September 3rd. Not sure if we're going to be able to get the video rolling there. Looks like not, but he was pretty game in that performance. Ended up getting the win after back-to-back seconds, and he just has so much heart.
I mean, the old red flag that's flying here, the obvious concern is the 1 mile distance. These horses in here, we mentioned the theme throughout the afternoon is these horses stretching out a basic sprinters. But, you know, it's only a one-turn mile here at Gulfstream Park. So maybe it sets up for a horse like Mr. Kisses in here, who's stretching out to a mile for the first time. He was pretty game in that race. We were trying to show you there about getting beat ahead by Awesome Banner last time out.
Beaten just a neck behind Awesome Banner and ahead of Dream of Me, another horse that we both used in here. And I think that Mr. Kisses is coming in and has a very big shot. He's got the stalking ability. It depends if Awesome Banner ends up sitting off the pace again versus going out to the front. He's run at longer distances and got very well beaten, but that was a mile and a 16th in grade 2 events. Yes, he's going a little bit shorter. It's just a one-turn mile here. I think that Awesome Banner showed last time he has the versatility.
Yeah, and that might be key here because the 3 horses that we do have on top of our ticket in the exact order are the 3 horses that are trying a mile for the first time. So this is where they're going to separate themselves to see who can handle that extra furlong or 2 in some cases. Race number 7 this afternoon, 1 mile on the turf, 2-year-old fillies. Hey, it's another stake race, $75,000. It's the R, Dear Peggy, and this one, 10 runners in the field, no scratches. So it's I went one way, you went the other. Here's where we disagree. You went with Backstage.
I did, and I stared at this race for a very long time. I really strongly considered putting the number 3 Bahama Halo on top. I had him in second, and we'll talk about that horse in a moment. Didn't love you know, his longer race last time. Yes, it was in a stake, but I just think that you talked about speed as well. I think that Backstage is going to be the one to blast out here, and just I don't know if he's going to be able to be caught. He won last time out by 2 lengths ahead of next out winner Brahms Cat. He was the odds-on favorite that day. He had actually won prior to that, and and been disqualified, placed second, came back, won next time out. Both of those were with Ryan Gazzler. Gets Cornel Velasquez in the saddle today. Big jockey change there. I would just wonder if she blasts off and can't be caught.
Oh, that's it. So if that happens, my rate pick in the other race is going to look really good, and this one's going to look in here. I thought she would be challenged and didn't put it on a ticket. I thought she'd back up because I thought the class of this race was the 3 Bahama Halo, who's turning back to a mile after stalking the pace and finishing 5th. That was in the $100,000 mile in the 16. P.G. Johnson at Saratoga. Todd Pletcher has Edgar Zayas. This is a $350,000 daughter of More Than Ready. You showed a stat on More Than Ready just a little while ago. And more importantly, I thought that this race had more speed in it, and I thought a horse like Bahama Hello with that class would sit off it, stalk it, and win.
Well, I'll give you a trainer stat on Todd Pletcher in the past 5 years with 2-year-olds on the turf in non-graded stakes. 5 for 24, 21% win, 67% of the time in the money, $1.35 ROI. You can imagine Todd Pletcher in non-graded stakes are usually pretty well bet. Some high percentages for sure, but even higher in the money, and I'm thinking that's where this horse might finish.
Well, he wins, but he doesn't pay that much. But winning is the key here, right?
That's true. That's very true.
Well, let's go to race number 8 this afternoon. And this one is 6 furlongs, maiden special weight, 2-year-old fillies, full field of 11 runners. And this is where the Rainbow Six starts. And as we mentioned, mandatory payout, about $117,000 already in the pool. And boy, is it going to skyrocket because whoever has the most winners gets the whole pool today. You know, 6 out of 6. You're the only one. You can get yourself a really, really nice payoff. So this one here will show you my ticket right now.
Yeah, pretty fun sequence here, Rainbow Six, huh?
Yeah, there it is up there. It's $64.80, and you'll see in race number 12 today, and we mentioned when we did a show earlier, yesterday actually, that everybody in America might be singling 3 rules in race number 12, and that's where you got to make that decision. How you doing? I was able to use a lot of horses, $64.80. See if I can take it down. I went with 3 horses in here, 4, 5, and 11, and I'm interested to see how you handicap this 8th race.
Well, those are the 3 that I used on top as well. So we're actually in agreement when it comes to that.
That is not something that happens all the time.
No, especially with the start of the Rainbow Six. And I used the number 5, Our Way to Escape, on top. This one's a half to multiple stakes winner, Awesome Speed, who won twice at 2 as well. This horse is coming off a very solid second place finish at the 5 furlongs last time. Gets a little extra distance here. Was running pretty steadily at the end last
Yeah,
time.
and I just think that's a logical one in there, too. Now, we're actually in agreement all the way across the board here, so I'm feeling good about my Rainbow Six ticket. And the other one that we had a lot of fun with this horse, and that's the number 11, Sip My Chardonnay. What a great name for a horse. It's a $90,000 a daughter, freshman sire, Bodemeister, debuting for trainer Ralph Nix. And what a day Ralph Nix had yesterday, winning a couple of races, winning the last race. The slew of solid workouts showing. Always the concern for a first-time starter is that outside post of number 11.
Sure, and as you said, a fun name from It's All About the Girls stable. But this one is just so nicely bred as well. You mentioned Bodemeister. The dam was a stakes winner, a multiple graded stakes place. So looks like this horse, if she is not able to get the win today, she's certainly going to be running very solidly in here, and I think you have to use her for all of those reasons. The number 4, Keep Your Distance, is from the Juan Arias stable, adding blinkers for the first time after finishing third behind Our Way to Escape last time.
Yeah, you know, and this one's a daughter of Concord Point by Tappet. It certainly should appreciate that additional furlong. So that's how I started my Rainbow Six ticket. And in case she doesn't agree with me, so it's either good or it's either bad for both of us. We'll see how that works out. But I think we got the logical 3 in there. Now, race number 9 this afternoon, 7 1/2 furlongs. As we mentioned at the top of the show, the turf course is listed as good. Maiden special weight, 2-year-olds. We do have a jockey change and a couple of scratches thus far. Jockey change comes on the 1, Miguel Vasquez, scratched the 2, Marco Mischief, scratched the 6, Quintunes, and number 11, Golden Decision in here. And this is where our final pick 5 of the summer meeting at Calder. I'm already thinking of Gulfstream, but at Gulfstream starts, thinking across town, the former Calder. Let us see your ticket.
Yes, let's get right to the ticket here. This is the late pick 5. Again, don't forget, it's a mandatory payout today. $60 for me. I also singled in race number 12 with 3 rules in the In Reality. You see, I went 4 deep in race 10. That's the My Dear Girl. Thinking Cajun Delta Dawn is going to have a tough time from post 13 as well. I used her on there. Went pretty deep in race 11 with 5 horses and then 2 in the finale. But it's all going to hinge on 3 rules sweeping the series.
Well, and as we said, a lot of tickets are going to hinge on 3 rules this afternoon. We both did start it with the 9 Southern Sea, who's sitting on a winning performance, responded to the equipment change, took the blinkers off, and stretch out last time to 7 1/2 furlongs with a second place finish, beating 3/4 of the length. Ron Spatz, Nick Juarez. Nick Juarez got his first win here since returning to South Florida yesterday. So all things are positive with number 9 Southern Sea.
Yeah, off of that last performance, as you mentioned, when stretching out to the 2 turns, I thought ran very solidly in there. Also both used the number 5 Dynamic Dancer, who added the blinkers last time and had pretty much the same kind of finish in third when stretching out to the 2 turns as well. Added the blinkers there. The blinkers come right back off. It looked like didn't really wake him up like trainer Patrick Biancone might have helped. You mentioned the barn going very well. I think that this horse is sitting on a good performance as well.
Yeah, it was the favorite last time out, and once again, looks like the go-to jock is Lane Luzzy this afternoon, so that'll be there. Then I went with the number 3 in here, and that's Contour Mara, and this one is the son of Tisway Asai. That is 7 for 50, 14% with first out winners, debuting for Antonio Sano with that steady work tab showing over Gulfstream Park West. We just mentioned this a couple of races ago. It's got Gulfstream Park West horses that have been training, first-time starters coming over, run well, gets Lasix, got Edgar Zayas in the saddle. Horse I thought I wanted to see run here, and would not be shocked to see him win.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. He's 8-1 on the morning line. You might get a little bit of a price in here with those other 2 that look like they're pretty strong coming in. I think it's one to use. I mentioned this earlier. It looks like Antonio Sano has some nice younger horses coming from Gulfstream Park West.
Well, let's go to race number 10 this afternoon, and it's our feature event of the afternoon, 1 mile and 1/16, 2-year-old fillies, Florida Cyrus Stakes nominated. It is the $500,000 My Dear Girl. 13 runners in the field, no defections. Everybody's going to run just to make it hard, and we're going to go back. Well, how'd you start it? Let's go that way first.
All right. Well, we both started actually with the number 2, Sweet Tooth Haven, who is from the barn of Stanley Gold. Was well beaten last time as actually the favorite in the Susan's Girl behind Cajun Delta Dawn. Got very well beaten there. I think she's drawn much better today. As I said, Cajun Delta Dawn has that outside post to deal with today. She's coming in undefeated. She's a very solid runner. Wouldn't be surprised to see her overcome that post, but I just gave the nod to Sweet Tooth Haven, who just looks like she has the speed in here.
Well, let's go back and show you the performance of Cajun Delta Dawn and why we both put this horse in second today. It has to do with the pace, not with this performance last time out. She, like Three Rules, has a chance to sweep the Florida Sire Stakes Series, and this was her best performance of all of them thus far. She is the number 3 in here, and you'll just see her start coming and running, and it's just a great performance. She's the number 2, actually. I started number 2. Just draws off and wins impressively. Once again, September 3rd, you look at the track there, had some moisture in it. And here's the story. She's the best filly we've seen here, 2-year-old filly, but she's got that post 13. So this was the best of her 4 races.
Absolutely. And maybe you can even argue Sweet Tooth Haven didn't like the wet track last time. She's going to have a track that's now listed as muddy. If we get more rain throughout the day, that could be a question mark for her there. Cajun Delta Dawn is certainly going to be the one to beat. You don't want to put all of the stock in the post draw, but it is such a big part of it.
Well, you know, here's the reasoning. We have a short run to the first turn with the mile in the 16th, and we use the first finish line for that mile in the 16th distance. So now if this horse is able to break sharply and get to the rail and save some ground, she's going to win it. I mean, you got to have her on your ticket and everything like that. We're sort of being, you know, handicapping the race and putting the 2 over the 13. Would I be shocked if the 13 won? Not at all. Now, who else did you use?
Well, I used the number 6 Surprise Wedding, who is the other David Fox, if you will. David Fox has the 13 Cajun Delta Dawn. I thought Surprise Wedding broke her maiden very impressively. She's working nicely in company with Cajun Delta Dawn, and I think that she might be one that maybe will be a little bit ignored on the board. You talk about the higher price of the uncoupled entry. Yes, she broke her maiden in claiming company, but I think she deserves to be in this spot.
Well, the number 8 horse in here, Stormy Embrace, is stretching out around 2 turns after rallying late to finish the distance, second to Cajun Delta Dawn. You just saw that in the Susan's Girl. All these horses trying a mile in the 16th for the first time. Maybe the added real estate makes this one close. Looked like it had some late run going in. I mean, nobody was beating Cajun Delta Dawn that day. So off that performance, I added that one to my ticket there. So the big key is, how does Cajun Delta Dawn handle an outside post this afternoon? If this horse breaks sharp, gets a good position early, this one wins.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. So, again, a must-use on your multi-race wagering, especially with that mandatory payout.
Now, race number 11, 1 mile on the turf, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. This one is $75,000. It's the Panama City. Scratch the 8 Sweetie Girl and the number 12 Truth. And this is one tough race to handicap. And I'm looking up, and I thought I was going to be the only one in town with Daring Kathy on top of the ticket. And there you go. We're having Daring Kathy right on top of the ticket.
Well, if you remember from my late pick 5, I actually went 5 deep in this race and actually used all of the horses that we have up there. Determined Lady, the 6 was the other one that I threw on in addition to my top 4. But Daring Kathy, talk about heart. We were mentioning this early. This horse ran so solidly, finishing second in stakes company against the boys. I actually thought she had a very big shot to win those races. She came back. She won the Soaring Softly so impressively. I think maybe she just bounced a little bit last time in the Wasted Tears running against some of the others in here. But I think she gets the upper hand today.
Yeah, she's turning back to her best distance. 8 races at this 1 mile distance with 4 wins and a third. And it took a lot for me to put this one on top, because one of my favorite horses is the horse that I have in second, and so do you, and that's Pink Poppy, who's cutting back to this distance. We're talking about 8 furlongs. She's had 6 races at the distance with only the 1 win. She dueled from start to finish and held on gamely to win the aforementioned Wasted Tears by 3/4 of the length. She needs to stay out of a duel to offer her best in here this afternoon, but that's a gutsy performance. And I've liked this horse from day one, you know, going back. So Pink Poppy, one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a race with some emotional investments. And Pink Poppy won the Spooks Express. She got loose on the lead there. Nobody was catching her. A couple starts back, they went over to Monmouth, tried her in the Grade 3 Matchmaker. It was a downpour that day. It was, I think, a little bit over her head. She was facing some tough competition in there. Came back and won the Wasted Tears in a game performance, as you mentioned. I don't know if she's going to be able to have the duel. That's why I gave the nod to Daring Kathy.
And here's the absolute sneaky in the race, and that is the 2 Susie B, who does her best running from off the pace. So we're talking about speed. This one does her best running from off the pace. She's back on one of her favorite courses. She's had 9 races on this turf course, 3 wins, a second and 3 thirds, so 7 for 9 in the money. She was second in the West Virginia President's Cup, and then ran 4th in the ladies' turf at Kentucky Downs. I think she sits the perfect trip behind the speed. She's got a lot of frequent flyer miles, but she can run exceptionally well in here, and she likes this course.
She does indeed. She actually showed some early speed last time over at Kentucky Downs. I agree. I think she sits off the pace today.
Well, let's go to race number 12, the feature event of the afternoon, 1 mile and 1/16. 2-year-old Colson Geldings, Florida Cyrus Stakes, nominated the $500,000 in reality stakes, and everybody not only here around the country has been talking about the number 2, 3 rules. I guess the best thing to do is go back and show her performance in the his performance in the Affirmed.
That's probably it. We'll let his running speak for it. This is back in the Affirmed. As you mentioned, he's the number 7 that day. And this is kind of what he does. He goes up, he kind of sits right there with the speed, and then he just pulls away. He rolls on by the rest of the field. He had a couple of horses in front of him at the start of the race, and it's a competition for second in there. He's under a hand ride. It looks like, gives him Cornelio Velasquez gives him a little bit of a tap in there, and you can argue he got a little leg weary. Maybe he still won by 5.5 lengths. But the other argument, I think, is that maybe it's just a little bit boring for him out there on the front end. Nobody's really challenged him yet. Gives him a couple whips just to keep him interested, to keep him knowing that the race is still going on. We're not done yet. It's not over. It's not always going to be easy sailing for him like that.
And we talked to Jose Pinchin. He has no concern about the mile and the 16, but let's show you a stat with Jose Pinchin over the last 5 years with 2-year-olds stretching out from a sprint to route on the dirt. He's 4 for 18, 22%, 44% of money with a positive ROI, $2.11. So there's reason to believe he's done it. He's done it well, and he's got a horse that certainly can do it well. So the answer, like everything we said throughout, the theme running through the whole day is how these 2-year-olds were going to handle the added real estate this afternoon, and I think 3 rules is going to do it. Now, if you like what I just told you about Jose Pinchin, what about the number 4, front loaded? This is another one from his bond. He's stretching out to this distance of 1 mile in the 16th and finishing 3rd behind his stablemate in the Dr. Fager, and 2nd to him in the Affirmed. That was the guy that was 2nd, way back, but 2nd. He's a son of Cantharos, and he's certainly bred to handle 1 mile in the 16th.
He is. He gets Tyler Gaffleone aboard today. Regular rider Emmy Jaramillo is actually in New York to ride XY Jet in the Grade 1 Vosburg this weekend, but he's certainly not going to be settling getting Tyler in the saddle in here. I agree. I think he's the main threat, if you will, if you could even call him a threat. But as far as the rest of the field, he's coming in very strong.
I went with the 10 and 3rd, Sunshine and Shadows, making his first journey around 2 turns and facing winners for the first time. He used his speed to break his maiden at 7 furlongs. I think he's up there playing catch me if you can. I think he's one of the horses. His best shot is to go. He's got to go from post 10. It's the same situation. It's not as bad as post 13, but a mile in the 16th distance, I think he's got to go. And stranger things have happened where a horse can get a good lead. If not win it, certainly hold on for a share.
Yeah, absolutely. He has that speed. He was only won by just a neck last time out, almost beaten by the number 5 in here, Illmatic, who ran very solidly in his debut. I think Sunshine and Shadow is definitely a tough horse in here. That was against state-bred maidens last time. I opted for the number 11 Legacy Azteca, who was a huge price last time to finish 3rd in the Affirmed.
You think we're done? No, we're not. We got one more to go. Race 13, 7.5 furlongs on the turf, maiden special weight, 2-year-old fillies. You name one other track in the country that has fuller fields than this throughout the summer. I will tell you they do not, because we have to handicap them every day. So we got full fields. So far, we got a couple of scratches in here of the 15 and 16, but a full field of certainly of 12 runners is going to go postward. And it looks like the number 3, we got those, as I mentioned, the scratches, 15 and 16. Bella Vincenza on top of both of our tickets.
Yes, Bella Vincenza, and this is the last race on the day, the last race of those multi-race wagerings with the mandatory payout. They don't make it an easy one for sure. Bella Vincenza is making start number 5. She hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle just yet, but it looks like she's due a win in here. She finished 2nd behind Backstage last time out, so Backstage one to watch earlier. They added the blinkers there as well, added the Lasix 2 back, and she certainly seems to have improved with those changes.
And it's got that Italian theme, Bella Vincenza with Luca Bonici in the saddle. So certainly I'm leaning towards that way. We both used the 5 in 2nd, and that's Aquamini.
Yeah, Aquamini. Yeah. This one ran a very solid 2nd behind Philly Mignon in her debut, beaten just a length and a quarter with Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle. She's stretching out to 2 turns today.
Ready to Zap, the 4-horse, is another stretching out her 2 7.5 furlongs after showing the ability in her 5-furlong debut when she rallied 5 wide in that race to finish 4th. Marcassi, Cornelio Velasquez is going to handle that added real estate this afternoon.
Yeah, I think that this is certainly one to watch. It was off the pace that day. I had some interest in the number 7, Debbie's Cute Ghost, who's adding the blinkers and drawn a little bit better than what she had to deal with last.
Well, that's how we see the 13 race card. Mandatory payouts throughout the day, so it's going to be a lot of fun. In just a couple of moments, we're going to turn the stage over to our track announcer, Pete Aiello. He will update you on all the scratches you need to have a fun day this afternoon. And we'll be back, about 10, 15 minutes?
Yes, we will. Good luck today, everyone.